I've got a good talk here for you guys today. It's going to be all about my personal struggles with health, specifically with weight gain and asthma, and how I got here today. So let's stay tuned and get started. My name's Gavin Mehl, and you know, as a kid growing up, I was one of those kids that was born in a test tube and then came out with a ball in his hand. I was made to be playing baseball, made to be an athlete right as soon as I was born. And so I was like, day one, I was going to be an athlete. I was going to be a baseball player. By the time I was about 8 or 9 years old, I really, you know, this asthma where you have a hard time breathing started really kind of catching up to me and affecting my sports, my baseball. And even by the time I was like 10 years old, I think we started going into the doctor and really trying to get it treated, and we started doing allergy shots. Back in they'd take needles and they'd put them in your arms and give you these cruel shots in hopes that they would somehow make you better. We know nowadays that allergy shots are not the way to go. You know, you got much more of a natural cure. You want to shoot yourself up with drugs to try to cure it. But I was one of those kids that had that severe asthma, just looking for a way out. Now this like struggle with asthma also brought me into like chiropractic treatment, where my mom would take me to a chiropractor and we try to find alternative ways to overcome the asthma. You know, at the same time, I'm starting to put on a little bit of weight, you know, because I can't, you know, excuses, but let me give you an excuse why I was gaining weight. My excuse was I couldn't do as much exercise as I wanted to, so I could sit at home and sit on the couch and gain weight, right? Because of the asthma. That was my excuse. But either way, I started putting on weight. I started getting fat as a kid, and the asthma wasn't getting any better. So, you know, I figured I'd just become a power hitter and become a slugger in baseball. Even though I'd be slow, I could be like Babe Ruth or something, you know, be a fat kid playing. That was my plan. I think by the time I was right around junior high, I decided, I was like, you know, I don't care what I got to do with the weight loss. I'll do whatever it takes. I was mad. I was like, I'm not going to be the fat kid anymore. Started getting a little bit taller, and my mom had put me in swimming. So swimming, it helped me. It helped me with my breathing. Now, while I couldn't do it at first, it was really hard at first, but it started building endurance with my lungs, and it started helping me a lot with my asthma. And you know, the training was swimming, all this endurance training. You know, it got me ripped. You know, by the time I was 13, junior high, 14, man, I was ripped. I was freaking ripped. 6-pack, you know, feeling good. Asthma would still kick in. I'd have the inhaler at the side of the pool, you know, kind of like puffing on it if I needed to. But it was definitely a reaction that I felt I needed. So fast forward into high school, no real change in the way of asthma, still swimming and keeping fit. By the time I was graduating from high school, I went to college, and I was going to continue on playing baseball in college, and I still did have this hidden asthma that I would never want to talk about to coaches or anything like that, because you know, you don't want to be a kid with a disability when you can't run. But I mean, we were forced. I remember in college, my first year with the team, you know, we're forced to run a 6-minute mile. And as an asthmatic, man, that was like my biggest fear, because I could run for a little while, but I couldn't run a mile in 6 minutes without having a major asthma attack. You know, fast forward, you know, I ended up stopping playing baseball and went in and found my passion and my calling after that, and you know, went into college, and I started getting into sales. I knew I wanted to be in sales, but so I got into found a career with that, and I joined a fraternity in college, and you know, I started coming into my own. But this asthma, and it was at this point wasn't any better. Going and getting my medication refilled, the inhaler, every month I'd get a new inhaler, and the doctor would always say, you got to get off of this, you got to get off this inhaler, you got to find a way, you got all these other preventative ways that are trying to help, but you can't keep taking it. I knew that the time would come where I had to get off that inhaler. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to live a long life if I kept on puffing that inhaler, because it was for rescue. And the doctor always warned me, Dr. Doolittle, he would always warn me. He said, this is a rescue inhaler. You should be using it maybe like once or twice a week. And I'd be using it on a daily basis, many times a day, say like 5 or 10 times a day. Right around 2006, I started beginning my like experimentation with supplements. just basic stuff at that time, trying to experiment with herbs in hopes that they would help my asthma get better. And I remember, a few years later, I had really gone down the rabbit hole with supplementation, trying multiple different products. And I don't usually I'm not saying just try, like, hey, let me try it once. I would try it for like a year. I figure like 6 months to a year is enough for me to see if there was a difference or not. I couldn't just try something for a week or two. That's not enough. I really wanted to give it a good 6 month or a year process to try something. One of the early products that I found was something called Protandim. It was a pill that you take. It was a vitamin that you take, and it was supposed to help with inflammation. I don't know if I ever noticed big noticeable difference with that. For me personally, I remember taking it, consistently for a year straight, and it may have helped a little bit with bringing down some of the inflammation, but it wasn't a game changer. Then I wanted to excel further, and so I looked more into the supplement market, and I found a company that was actually spending like lots of money proving their products worked and doing human clinical trials on the research of their products, like taking people, before and after, then publishing them with third parties and having other doctors review their information. And it was by a company called Econet. They were out of Korea, and they had an office in Seattle, and I did I took a lot of their products. For about a good solid 2-year period. And it's like if I kind of scratch my head and be like, I think it helped. I think it was good, but I don't really know. It's hard to say. But I was totally convinced on finding a cure, because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to live a long life if I didn't find a way out of this. It's incredibly stressful. You do feel like you're going to die. You feel like you're not going to make it sometimes because you can't catch your breath. You're just trying to find some relief. And the little albuterol inhaler, usually it would get it under control before it got to that point. But sometimes it would get so bad to where like you're just panicking. You're panicking and you're just grasping, like you feel like you're grasping on something, just trying to hold on. You're falling off a cliff and you're just holding on with your fingertips, trying to just catch a breath. It was that hard. So I was determined. I knew I had to find a way to get better. And, I'm at this point now where I'm still on the medication and I'm taking all these supplementations and I'm really not better. I'm not at all better. So, fast forward now a couple more years, and I go through like a relationship change where I'm with a girl, in a long-term relationship, and then we separate, and I go into this because I had actually gone backwards. When we were together, I kind of like lost my focus on health and fitness, and I started putting on weight, and I was probably at about like 180 pounds of not muscle but fat. So it was not looking good. There's some pictures of me you can find online about that. It did not look good. It was definitely not healthy. And so I was like, we separated, and I said, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to get ripped. I'm going to get freaking healthy. And along with that, I'm going to get this asthma thing figured out. But at this point, my burning desire to make sure that I'm getting ripped and fit and aesthetic and shredded, I want to be looking like as ripped as Brad Pitt was and Troy and I want the aesthetics of Z's. I want the determination of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I wanted all these, I wanted the strength of Grego Gallagher from Kino Body. This guy has just freaking incredible strength per pound of body weight, just some of the best I've ever seen in the world. And so, I wanted all these things. And I knew if I was going to do it, I had to do it. So, but I was also dealing with this asthma thing. So now comes into the point where I started figuring out things that began to work. So first thing I came across was pushing out my breakfast. Pushing out my breakfast was kind of a silly thing. Didn't make any sense, but I wasn't having any results doing everything else I was doing. So I thought, why not give it a try? Ori Hofmeckler, he coined the term back in around 2000 or so called intermittent fasting, where it's just a short amount of fasting period. You're fasting longer than normal. Where normally I would just do a fast when I'm sleeping, but now I'm gonna fast longer, and that amount of time, somehow it allowed my body to begin to heal itself naturally a little bit, and it also began to start to reduce my body fat. I'm doing this intermittent fasting for about a solid year now, and I have incredible results, like tremendous results. I mean, I start to just, I think after about 6 months of it, I was well under 10% body fat, going from 17% body fat year round, where I was then under 10% body fat pretty effortlessly. And I did a lot of videos about it at that time, which you can go back and watch if you so choose to. But during that time, I also found a way, I'm still dealing with the asthma, like not as bad, but it was still there. April of 2016, I came across a book. I actually found this book in my house. I did not order the book. I did not buy the book, but it was in my house. Coming out later, I realized where the book came from, but it was not, it was like one of those things where, like, you open a drawer and you see this book inside and you're thinking, hey, where'd this book come from? And the book was called The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush by Andreas Moritz. And I'm thinking, wow, where did this book come from? I opened the book, I'm like, this must be a sign from God. Why is this book here? I realized where the book came from later, but either way, like there's certain times of your life when you get certain signs from things, and you realize, this is a sign. I gotta do it. I gotta take action. Something, the universe, God, the divine providence is telling me something. It's time for me to take action. I did an entire, this massive buildup of information, 100 pages of why, of what happens with our bodies and how over time we begin to collect toxins. And it made a lot of sense. You figure, it's like, man, I used to drink a lot of beer, I'd drink a lot of alcohol, and I'd be out partying, and then I'd be eating junk food. I'm thinking, yeah, of course I've been collecting toxins, all this crap I've been putting in my body. And the book basically kind of, painted this beautiful picture on how these things, these toxins, GMO foods, chemtrails from the air, smoke, things that you breathe in, things that you eat, ingest, smell, all these things that are kind of coming into the body. When the body doesn't have a way to digest it and it can't expel it, what happens is it basically explained that those particles end up being stored in the liver and gallbladder. It's kind of like their safe place. See, the body is so smart. It's so brilliant. It's so intelligent. It's such a miraculous thing that it's designed to have a safe place for these poisons to go inside our body, so they don't get out and do damage on us. And they can harbor inside this giant thing, this giant football inside of us called the liver. And so as they go in there and collect, and it's painting this entire picture. So I go ahead and start doing it. I remember the first time I did it, I took notes, and I ended up with 60 or so of these little green pea-sized stones, and I cut them open. I was like, man, they're like brownish green on the outside, and they're slimy, and then you cut them open and they were smelly on the inside. They kind of look like, I call them Nickelodeon green slime on the inside, but it had this brown layer on the outside. I'm like, wow, what is this stuff? It's just disgusting. I just wanted them out of me. So I kept doing it and kept doing it. I kept doing this flush every month after month after month. It said to do it on the new moon. And it wasn't like a procedure that cost me any money. I mean, like I said, I found the book in my freaking house, and then I started just taking action with it, with the simple procedure in the book on what to do. And so as I'm doing this, I notice that I went in for my checkup with my doctor, Dr. Doolittle still at this time. And he's like, how's your asthma doing? And it didn't dawn on me until this time, until I actually saw him. And he's like, how's your asthma doing? How you doing with your breathing? And I'm like, doc, I think it's cured. And he's like, really? What happened? I'm like, I don't know. I started doing this liver flush. I started doing this intermittent fasting where I push out my breakfast, and something clicked. I lost the body fat that I had, and my asthma was gone. I don't know what it was. I mean, I can't point my finger if it was both of those things or one of them. But this is the moment when I realized that all of a sudden I was cured. I didn't need, it was like such a satisfying feeling to sit in the doctor's office and to tell them that I don't need you to give me a prescription for, the albuterol. We call it albuterol or Ventolin inhaler. I don't need it. Because I had unopened inhalers he had given me before. I wasn't even using. I remember going home and looking at those unopened inhalers and thinking, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself, and I'm not gonna open those. I'm not gonna go and grab that. If I feel short of breath after working out or swimming or something, I'm just gonna go bear through it, and I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do it, and that's it. Period. And I started just challenging myself to not use it, and then, a month or two more goes by, and we go back and see him again, and I'm still sitting on the same inhalers he'd given me before, and he asked me how my asthma is, and I'm just like, Doc, I mean, I'm cured. I remember. You told me when I was younger that one day I would hopefully grow out of the asthma, and I feel like I grew out of it, or the liver flush and the freaking intermittent fasting fixed it. But something definitely fixed it. It's better now. So I just want to share this story here with you guys to give you kind of a perspective for anyone out there who's dealing with asthma, shortness of breath, or struggling with just excess body fat where they're trying to get lean and they can't. These two things are part of the fundamental process that changed everything in my life in the way of health, that put me onto a path of what I would say elite health, almost effortlessly. And it really has to do with going after the root cause of illness. Because now, after all these times of doing these things, of cleansing out my organs, specifically the liver and gallbladder, I've realized now, just like it said in the book, that the root cause of illness comes from the liver and the gallbladder and the congestion inside of there. If we can just clean those organs out, clean them out, the body then can go back into its natural state of homeostasis in a very, very easy way to repair itself. The immune system can work like it did when it was a teenager. I mean, there's so many miraculous things that I've discovered now about once the organ's getting clean and how the immune system can work. And I mean, there's no way I can get asthma now. I can't even get sick. I don't need to knock on wood. I won't get sick because my immune system is so high. My immune system's so high because I have my organs are cleaned out. My liver and gallbladder, the source cleaned out. And so the rest of the body can work in complete harmony in healing itself. I don't know, it's just kind of a complex subject, but I wanted to make it as simple as I can in a very, very easy story to understand that I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist, and I'm just a regular guy who got this book and did with a purpose and started doing it. I never stopped. I ended up doing 18 liver flushes, and I've completely adopted this way of eating, of intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day now at this point in my life, and it's changed my entire health to where I know now I won't get sick. I know now I won't get ill. You could put me around any situation, my immune system will fight it off. So I'm coming back into paradise, and look at these trees, man. At the end of the day, the sun is setting. Wow. Coming at you. I got my pool cleaned. Come out swimming one day. There it is. Pool's clean, bro. Woo! All right. If you like this video, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And all you trolls out there, if you have comments, bring them on. But just remember, if you name call, you forfeit your rights to me even listening to you. So be happy to welcome your comments and even criticism. I'm open to it, but name calling forfeits your rights to anything. All right. So, because it just shows you don't have the intellect to correspond. All right. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. See you next time.